When we are live.
Good evening, everyone. Another day here at the Barbershop, where you come in and get a fresh cut and get knowledge and get a lot of jewels dropped on you. Tonight, we're going to go back about a year ago when we had some of our youth from DYCD on, and we were talking about runaway youth programs and services that we had for some of our amazing young people who are out there who are doing great things. And this time we have a lot of staff on who are going to talk a little bit more in depth about what's happening in DYCD and what's happening around the youth that we're doing, and things that are really interesting that most of you may not even know about, that DYCD has to offer, and that the services in the city that you can take advantage of it today. So I'm going to introduce my colleague, Mike. So, hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good, Scott. Good to see you. Welcome everybody back to the Barbershop. Always good to have another Barbershop talk. You know, I was thinking about this. November is also Movember. You familiar with Movember? Yes.
My mustache doesn't grow.
Yeah. I was peeping. I was trying to do that too. I made it for the first 2 weeks of November, and then I couldn't take the scruff anymore. I had to shave it up. But this grew out of last year, Movember, and being in the quarantine that we were to. So I decided to keep that. But I give you a shout out for Movember. We've had a lot of discussions about men's health and wellness. So I know we're not focusing just on that today, but if people want to get more information, they can Google, and it's a good time to continue to think about men's well-being, men's mental health. So that's on my mind, whether you choose to shave or choose not to shave. So yeah. So what's up, Scott? How are you?
Hey, I'm hanging in there, getting through this year, and it's coming to a close real fast. It almost seems like, blink an eye, bang, we're right back into it. But I know that my buddy Jerry's on. I know he's having a little visual problem, but hey, Jerry, you want to just say hi to us?
Yeah, what's going on? Always excited to be at the barbershop. I think Mike must have found out that I was trying to grow my Movember beard, and it's looking real patchy. So the Wi-Fi said, you're not going to show yourself right now. We're going to wait for that to kick back in. So I can definitely have this conversation while I get a quick shape up. So we can just engage. Same thing like what Mike was talking about, just excited about all the things that we've covered, from mental health to different types of awareness. So now we get to really speak about what does that look like for runaway youth and homeless, right? And so how do we basically provide the right resources, have the right conversation to really lend to that extra level of help. So I'm just excited. Mine is trying to get a cut in my Wi-Fi working, but I'm excited.
Thanks, Jerry. So
yep.
If you don't know about DYCD right now, we have adopted this concept that we're really trying to support all the different DYCD programs consistently through whatever we do. No matter where we're at, what we're doing, we're learning enough about everybody's programs and services at the agency, and then we can be able to share at a drop of a dime, that if somebody comes into our facilities or come into our programs, we can cross talk about things that are happening at the agency and be knowledgeable enough to really say, hey, listen, this is a service that's part of this network that we have at DYCD. It's something that came out of what our commissioner who's going out kind of came up with the concept, and we're really loving it, that we're building off of it right now. So we're going to bring on one of our colleagues from one of our other programs. Her name is Tracy. Tracy, I'm gonna turn it over to you, who's with the young men's, with the Runaway Homeless Youth Program. So Tracy, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Scott. I am so honored to be here at the Barbershop with you and Mike and Jerry and David. And I'm really excited to be able to introduce to you all some really dynamic folks. I think that you mentioned dropping jewels. Like, these are some jewels in our community. So I'm really happy that we'll get to hear from them tonight. First, I want to introduce Yolanda Mcnair. She's a program manager here at RHY at DYCD, and she's brought on some really awesome folks from the provider community. Melissa Cuevas from the Children's Village. Welcome, Melissa. Mm-hmm. And also Jason Meniza, also from the Children's Village. And we're super special. We have a super special guest, a blessing, who's going to share some knowledge and expertise firsthand. So I just want to say I'm really glad to be in company with all of you, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Back to you, Scott.
No, well, what I want you to do is introduce each one of them, let them say hello, say hi.
Oh, okay.
It's a conversation.
See, this is what happens when I jump in without rehearsing. Yeah, sure. So that's cool. So Yolanda, where are you?
I'm here. Am I not visible?
There you are. There you are. You need to talk to be seen. Talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I am Yolanda Mcnair. I was honored to be a participant last year at during RHY month here at the Barbershop. And I'm a program manager with the Runaway and Homeless Youth Unit of DYCD. And I think our discussion is just going to talk about youth who are experiencing homelessness and mental health and some of the ways that DYCD, RHY, and well, DYCD as a whole and the RHY unit in particular provide services and helps these youth through our providers, one of which is here. And so that's going to have me pass it to the first person I reached out to, because this person has a lot of expertise in case management. And I mean, it would blow your mind if you ever saw the way they do their case files over here at Maya's place, and how excellent and just how much work and devotion and dedication that these case managers and the whole staff at Maya's place puts into their work. And so I'm going to start by introducing case manager from Maya's place, Melissa Cuevas.
Thank you for that intro. Thank you. So yes, I'm Melissa Cuevas and a case manager for Maya's Place. And I'm super excited, and I appreciate actually being chosen to be a part of this. So thank you.
I'll continue. I want to continue to go to the next person. As we were doing our kind of brainstorming sessions and planning sessions, there was a lot of talk about mental health and the importance of mental health, and how do RHY providers give mental health services. And I thought to myself, ding, we also have from Maya's Place. Maya's Place has a very robust mental health component, and the leader, or the coordinator, the expert behind that is Jason Manisa. So I called him and asked if he would also participate, which he happily agreed, which I'm so happy. So I'm going to turn it over to him to have him say a few words next.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. And hello, everyone. Such a pleasure to work with you guys. And I'm happy to be part of the Barbershop and be part of a discussion of some, very important topic. And it's such a great pleasure to work with individuals, professionals like Melissa. So thank you. And I look forward to the discussion today. And thank you.
Melissa, would you mind doing the honors of introducing the person that you identified to bring on to help add to our discussion and give some background? You can introduce her and she can give us a little something.
Yes, so this youth that came to us a couple of months ago, a blessing, and she transitioned to our TIL program. And we selected her because she is amazing, and she has a lot of amazing things to say, and we have done great work with her. So a blessing.
Hi, my name is a blessing Lee. I am in a TIL program now. I was at Maya's Place originally, and I'm grateful for this opportunity and to give my insight on the topic.
Okay, so do you guys mind if I, facilitators, do you mind if I just give a little bit of explanation, because they've said some things and I just want to explain what they're talking about. So
Sure,
it's funny, I was going
to
say to do that, because we use all ththese acronyms and jargon that no one else might know what these jargons and these slangs are. So please, because I was going to just start, we say RHY, most people don't even know what that stands for, but us. But I think
okay, so yes, let me
bringing
start by
together
saying that DYCD RHY stands for Runaway and Homeless Youth, and I just that's what it is. That's what it's always been, and I just want to reiterate something that we discussed, that our youth are experiencing homelessness. So we don't really say these youth are homeless. They're experiencing homelessness. It's not their identity. It's just something that they are experiencing at this time. And we're trying to get them into some stable housing. And one of the ways we do that is starting out with our drop-in centers. And I don't know if anybody out there in YouTube land is listening who is with our drop-in centers. But our drop-in centers are located throughout the city. We have 5 24-hour drop-in centers, 24-hour drop-in centers. We have drop-in centers all over the city, but we have 5 24-hour ones, one in each borough. And those drop-in centers are for youth, whether they're experiencing homelessness or not. But particularly if they're experiencing homelessness, they can come and get all kinds of services. They can wash their clothes, they can take a shower, they can use the internet, they can, relax, they can rest, at night. They can get case management, they can apply for jobs, food, all sorts of things, workshops of all kind, therapy, all sorts of things. Several of them have in-house medical, so they can get testing, they can get referrals. So those are our drop-in centers. And then Maya's Place is one of where our presenters, our panelists are from, is one of our crisis centers, which is a longer stay. It's 30 to 120 days. And that's where you go, if you just have, a quick need to have a place to stay. And they also offer case management and all kinds of services, mental health services, workforce readiness. And they also provide help for referrals for long-term housing, preferably permanent housing, as well as possible family reunification, which I know Melissa has told me of times when youth have actually been able to mend the relationship with the family and go back to the family, which is wonderful. So that's Maya's Place and all the crisis centers, Covenant House, they offer a longer term stay. And then a TIL, which stands for Transitional Independent Living, is wait a minute, let me not lie. It's up to 2 years and up to age 21. And that's where we again provide mental health, we provide independent living skills, because they are kind of living there on their own with help and learning how to do things like washing the dishes and things like that, doing their laundry, just regular independent living skills, with the hope that they would then be referred through their case manager to a permanent living situation, whether that be family reunification, a room with roommates, single occupancy, supportive housing, which is something that offers permanent housing, but a lot of mental health supports. And there's also, we're starting to get some vouchers where youth are able to get their own apartments. And Tracy is really the expert on that, so I'm not going to go too far into that, but that's what our TILs do. So it's a bit more permanent, and it helps them to be ready to move on and go off on their own. So I'm gonna let us begin, I think, the meat of our barbershop. Yeah, I'm passing it.
Okay, so let's ask some questions. Let's dive in and get some questions going around here. So, and Blessing, I'm gonna start with you. So, because you're the expert here, and we really want to highlight the wonderful things that you're doing. So Blessing, why did you choose, or how did you even find out about this in order to be able to choose this as something that you want to be a part of, and that helped you out? How did you get here?
How did I get to this show, or
no,
how I got to Maya's Place?
To the organization that you're with. How did
Okay.
you hear about it? How did you find out about it? Was somebody that you know or?
No. So I was living in Georgia with family members that I don't very much get along with. So it wasn't going well. And I didn't want to just leave and go stay at another person's house because what if they get tired of me eventually? You know, I want my own thing, be independent. So I was Googling, like, I was born and raised in New York, so I was planning on coming back here anyways. So I was Googling like shelters and things, stuff like that. But Covenant House came up. I had called asking like about availability of beds or whatever, but they referred me to Maya's place. So I called, I spoke to them. They were great. They were very nice and stuff. So it seemed welcoming. So they told me that they were going to call me back on Monday because I had called them on a weekend to let me know if they had a bed available. So they called me back on Monday and they told me to come in. So I came back to New York, went. They were welcoming. They showed me around, told me the rules, basic things. It was cool. Then I met Jason for mental health, which was amazing. I'm doing well because originally, like when I first came there, my anger issues were horrible, and then I was dealing with a lot of past trauma and things that just don't work out in life. But working with Melissa, Jason, everyone else, like I'm living in the moment. I feel great. That's what I have to say about them.
So what would you recommend to somebody who's watching us and they're experiencing it right now? And I know there's one place here, and what would they expect to gain? Any insights?
They can expect, I mean, don't go into anywhere with any type of expectations. That's a wrong move anyways. But if you do want to expect something, just expect something welcoming. Like, I mean, it's pretty safe. Like if you're outside, like literally homeless, literally no place to go, that's dangerous. It's cold. That's a warm shelter that's safe. You know, the people are helpful. They're pretty nice. All the staff is nice. They're helping you. They're gonna help you look for a job. If you don't have a birth certificate, the door, they'll direct you to a place to get birth certificate, ID, things. Keep your mind running so you're not just sitting depressed. Be prepared to work with Jason a lot if you need it a lot. Yeah.
Well, Jason, that's your cue. So it said work with everybody call Jason now, you know.
Absolutely.
1-800-JASON, you know.
There is a value to the immediacy of these discussions. So if you're listening and you need it, you just give them a shout out. But that sounds like a good cue for Jason, right?
Sure. And I think one of the things that stands out is, one of the important things is and with any mental health relationship is forming a nurturing and open and honest professional relationship. And I think that's something that Bless and I were able to do even throughout, everything that's going on with the pandemic. And a quote always comes to my mind when talking about caregiving, and it goes something like this. It's, you could tell a person you care about them, but they have to live it for a while. And I always recall that. And, to a Blessing's credit, I mean, she came in with a great attitude, and you could just tell that she's a unique, wonderful human being with a spark inside of her and a drive that was just dormant and ready to go. And we're fortunate to be along the ride, be along for the journey towards her success. And I do believe she is going to be successful. So credit to you, a blessing as well.
Thank you.
Can I just interject? I'd like to ask Melissa, because A Blessing started there at the crisis center and that's a short-term engagement, short-term placement. And then you assisted and were able to get her into a more long-term placement of a TIL. So can you just kind of walk us through how you, what kind of things you did to get that process going?
So first meeting a Blessing, first getting her trust to open up and be comfortable, learning what she needed. And so vital documents, as she expressed, finding out her needs and creating a plan and writing down goals. And so we did that week by week. And she was able to find a job here and obtain some of her documents. And being that she has a lack of support in New York, I felt, and she felt, best TIL program will work for her for now. In addition, I did the NYCHA, which she was qualified for, and we're pending that as well. So that's how I was able to send her to the Transitional Independent Living Program, which she felt was great, more longer term, so that she can focus on school and work and saving up so that she can prepare for her permanent housing.
Melissa, can you define one of those terms used again? What's a TIL?
So TIL is a Transitional Independent Living Program that transitions them into independency and to help them learn independent living skills. They actually cook for the house, and if they don't know how to cook, we help them. They have chores. We have workshops, and 2-year stay for our youth.
Did I hear you say you're from Graham?
Say that again.
You said something about Graham, Graham Wyndham, or?
No.
Oh, I thought you said Graham. Okay, I know what
I think she cut out.
Yeah, it keeps on going in and out. Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, there's nothing wrong with our internet here.
Yes, because it was down last week.
But I can help out. Transitional Independent Living is what the TIL stands for. And I tell you, if anybody is a MacGyver at service coordination, it is this woman right here.
And we actually sent her to we have our own Transitional Independent Living Program. It's called Victory Residence. And so we thought that she would be a great fit for our program. And also to continue the work with Jason, because you get to see Jason in the TIL program and at Maya's. So we wanted to continue working with her.
And I would just say that all the DYCD runaway and homeless youth programs are a continuum. So if, for instance, for example, the Victory House did not have a bed open for a Blessing, Melissa can reach out to another TIL that's within our continuum and see if they have beds and see if she's a good fit there. And they all do many of the same things. Some of them have specializations, but so our youth are able to go from a crisis to perhaps a TIL if that's where they're going to go. And it gives you like a sense of continuity because you're going to get many of the same services, and DYCD oversees those along with OCFS to make sure that it's standardized. So a Blessing was lucky to continue on with Children's Village, but she could have also gone to another one of our programs.
Definitely, because I have over 15 housing options, and that's how, when I meet a youth, and that's and I assess each individual's case by case, I'll then determine what TIL program based on the availability could best work with for the youth.
Yeah, Yolanda, you're absolutely right about that continuity because, even with mental health, we utilize our community partners, our brother and sister agencies a lot for mental health services as well.
Scott, can I jump in real quick? I'm gonna take that as a yes. I always appreciate your
Go for
silence.
it, Jerry.
My question is really to the panel and even to Blessing, which I think is such a phenomenal name, right? How has so for Blessing, how has the pursuit for just housing impacted you mentally, socially, emotionally? And for the panel, how has your pursuit to support just appropriate housing and care impacted yourselves? Like, what does that look like? Because we get to see it from outside of the box. So bring us into your world. What does that look like? What is the impact? How does that really hit on the ground?
I'll go first since you said my name first. I'll say, how has it impacted me? Okay, without the help, the search for housing impacted me horribly. Like mentally, I was depressed. It was a struggle. It was super stressful. Too much, like with no one to talk to, like no one really in my corner. It was pretty hard. But then like when I came to Maya's place, like the first 2 weeks, I stayed to myself. Like I wasn't trying to like open up or none of that. So I stayed to myself. But then when I started like actually going in for the help, using the resources, going to Jason, speaking to Melissa or Allison, or the other staff, it helped me. It helped me. Like mentally, I feel 10 times better. The pursuit to housing, I feel like I'm getting closer by the day. I keep a positive mind always. Physically, coming back to New York, I lost a lot of weight, which is a great thing actually. Like all the walking, you know, it's amazing. Emotionally, I'd say the same thing. Like mentally and emotionally, I've gotten more positive. That's my answer. Unless you have something else to add, like if you want me to add something else.
No, that's amazing.
Right.
That's beautiful.
I springboard back to the rest of our panel. You guys working on the ground to help others. How does that impact you? What do you see out there that we should be aware of that maybe the common person doesn't know?
Melissa, you want to chime in first, or?
You go.
Don't be shy. As you can see, I'm doing the whole Movember look. Scott called me out earlier, so don't be shy.
I guess I'm getting there too. I gotta clean this up, but so one thing I've noticed just is a lot of need for housing. Not a lot of housing out there for anybody, including our youths. And so it could be a frustrating waiting game, which is where sometimes I come into where I get to work and come into play with the youth, just helping them be patient and see down the road that they are incrementally getting towards their ultimate goal, which is sustainable housing. But also, as Yolanda had pointed out, helping them build the instrumental activities of daily living along the way, because we would never want them to achieve that goal, or anyone to achieve that goal, and not be able to sustain it. So, I mean, just a lack of housing, and also I'd say we started to do one thing that wasn't mentioned is we started to do like financial counseling here, because there's a big need to understand money and how money works and credit and taxes, so that our youth can have that sustainability. And I have to say, our ladies are sharp, our residents are sharp. They pick up on this stuff really fast, which is inspiring to witness. And it's a pleasure, that's why it's a pleasure to come in and do this wonderful work every day.
Let's talk a little bit more about developing that financial literacy and that acumen. So we actually did 2 whole barbershops on this subject broadly, and one of them was about strategies for getting out of debt, and the second one was about strategies for kind of building wealth. So how do you introduce a conversation like that? And let's start with that. How do you introduce a conversation like that? And it makes sense that you do, but considering when young people are coming to you and they may be both practically and emotionally kind of in a state of crisis, like how do you enter into a conversation with a young person so that they can even begin to absorb or consider that content? Like, I'm clear, like once they do, that helps with the pivot, but how do you start?
Yeah. Yeah, no, great question. So you're right. I kind of do pivot, but everybody cares about money, regardless of what any of our clients are going through. Money inevitably comes up, and that's my pivot point. And I start to incrementally weave in very gently, pulling back, pushing in, pulling back, pushing in, because we have to make sure we're taking care of the other challenges, the emotional and behavioral challenges that may be more predominant. But as a side dish, I'll definitely bob and weave and weave in some usually some information on understanding finances better. And usually I'll start with if one of our clients has a bank account and helping them just understand what an interest rate means to them. Or even more simply than that, I'd say what the bank is paying them paying them to keep their money with the bank. And that's usually where I'll begin the discussion. And we'll start, with understanding that some banks will pay them, $2 to keep their money there. Well, not right now because of inflation, but and then some banks will pay them 0.05 cents. And a lot of times that'll start to get them to think about the differences between just banking and help them start to understand interest rates. And then we have a lot of ladies who are savvy and they have credit cards and they're watching their spending and so that's kind of how the discussion starts. Yeah.
So to add to where Mike kind of trailed off, in addition to that, so once we've secured housing, right, and we're talking about finances, what are some other like major takeaways you want them to have as they begin to rebuild their lives together? Like, what would you say are the top 3 things? Hey, we want to make sure we put these things in place, that you have these tools, right? So you can actually begin to flourish and now thrive. Thrive is a big thing that we do at DYCD, want to plant those resources. So what are those like 3 major instrumental tools that you like to make sure that they have? I guess I'll start with Melissa, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, one of the things that I do once I know that we're transitioning them into permanency is budget form. I use one to help with realistic things, food and so breaking that down and helping them see a visual on what it's like being on your own and independent. And so when they see that, some of them, get a little nervous and back and know that they need more time. And so they see the realistic of it, and so that's helpful. And I use that a lot when I know that they're going to a different setting, because some of our youth go to DHS instead of permanent housing, which, they need that tool because they're mainly on their own with their child. And so a budget sheet is what I use, aside from sending them to Jason to get that financial literacy. But yeah.
Awesome. This actually guides me through like the process, because as you're speaking, I'm trying to navigate my way. Okay, this is what that looks like. What would you say throughout this entire process and journey that you all have been in? I'll start off with you all just leading it. What would be your biggest accomplishment, as well as the biggest area that you want to improve to help make this system better for people to receive your services?
I can chime in.
Yeah, please.
I'd say just to go back to your previous question and add it, to hook it onto this one is self-advocacy. I work to get the ladies to tell me off when they need to. Because life, is tough and I want them to be strong and all the clients to be strong and being willing to voice their opinions, appropriately, of course. So self-advocacy definitely is something that we focus on a lot here, especially myself.
Awesome. And then the biggest accomplishment that's happened so far, especially coming out of the pandemic.
I'd say the connection. I mean, I'm sorry, you go ahead, Melissa.
I was just saying, coming out of the pandemic is being able to actually find the housing opportunities, and for that to be consistent. For me, that's major, because that's everything for these youth. Permanent housing, permanent setting, stability, and that's what's most important. So being able to still do that is a major accomplishment, that I can still continue my work with the youth. And I just wanted to add to a little bit to Jason, meeting the clients where they at is something huge for us. And it helps us along the way of, and creating our system to be effective, to have effective structure, and, delivering better results for our youth.
I just want to, can I chime in quickly? Because they're being so humble. I love it. Yeah. This Maya's Place has some of the, the highest for the desired outcomes of the youth that go there. They just have a lot of a success there. And I think that that mental health piece, the fact that they do a screening, but it doesn't matter if you have a history of mental health issues or not. They continue to send the youth once a week. They also meet once a week with the youth for case management. And I mean, I've had times when I've been doing a case management evaluation there where they had 3 or 4 youth working at the same place, because the youth have lifted each other up and said, oh, come here and work. And, and they're all working at the same establishment, because they're kind of helping each other to get these jobs, and and their desired outcomes are things that the youth have said through their individual service plan that they want, and they just sort of go down and they just check them off, and they don't allow the barriers that these youth face to stop them from continuing on and getting the things that they want. And I would just say, you said something about rebuilding their lives, but because these are youth, I mean, they're really building their lives. They have maybe a setback, they have maybe, some serious traumas that happened, but they really are just not even rebuilding. They're beginning to build their lives and their futures. And this is where the case management, the mental health, the financial planning, and all the different services that all our RHY providers have that help these youth just, when you go to college, you kind of don't know what you're doing. And they're kind of in that same boat. They're not sure what they want to do. And they just crystallize it for them and really help them to see, what do I want and what are my goals? And then, okay, so here's how you go about working towards getting them. So I would say that's a strength that they have. And, they really are quite successful at that.
No, thank you for lifting them up, and there's no need to be shy or humble with this. And Jason, I think we're going to make a point about how, we're still digging out from this coronavirus pandemic, but I think there was association you were going to point to. So if you want to swing it back and speak on that, let's hear about that.
Sure, Mike. So disconnection was going to be what I was going to say. Was one of our great achievements was throughout all the social distancing and the close downs and all the masking and apron wearing, and we were still able to maintain a connection, a nurturing connection with our youth, and still are able to maintain a nurturing connection with the youth that we serve. And it's astonishing to me sometimes how well we did as a team, and with the support, of course, of people like Tracy and Yolanda and the rest of the DYCD RHY staff and our community members.
I think that's amazing. First off, just again, shouting you all out. I don't think anyone really understands the amount of work that you all do and just how real it is. I'm not sure if a blessing is there. I'm curious, a blessing, if you could just tell me, if you could speak to your younger self, what would you tell your younger self going through that journey? Hey, do this or do that. Like walk us through that, because like literally you are a blessing that you are here right now, and I think that's phenomenal. And people need to know your story. Like this is a real thing. So while everyone's listening, tell us what you would tell your younger self. Tell us what you would tell a friend going through this. Hey, this is what you do, how you do it, and the way to do it.
What would I tell my younger self? For starters, all right, it depends on how young the younger self is. It depends on how young, but okay, if I'm like, okay, my super, super young self, I'd just say like, I try to teach myself how to build a tough skin, but without being mean. And then I'd say as I got older, stay in class for sure. Stay out of trouble, definitely. The me in this situation, before I got to Maya's place, I'd say just to stay positive, like throughout, like before I started having therapy sessions with Jason or like talking to Melissa or anybody at that, like I was very to myself. So like I handled everything by myself. My emotional management was horrible. I couldn't even describe how I was feeling for the most part. And everything just came out in an angrily, instead of how I wanted to portray it. It always seemed as if I was angry or I was attacking someone, or I'd always feel like I was being attacked. So my response would always be aggressive. So like I'd basically just tell myself to calm down, like be more positive, stay with a calm mindset to get me through hard times. To a friend in this situation, yeah, it's basically the same thing. Like the grass is greener on the other side. You just got to get there.
We started with the gems early. I appreciate your blessing. You put in work. I appreciate that. And just to have the wherewithal to have that level of affirmation and faith within yourself and to find those services is awesome. Giving it back to, I want to say, Melissa, Jason, you talked about connection. So we all know we are, for most people saying coming out of a pandemic, for other people, we're trying to keep from going back into a pandemic. How has the pandemic and all the other issues going on right now, whether it be political or just what's happening on the ground, impacted the work that you all do?
Well, for me, obtaining documents was a challenge. And we need documents for pretty much everything, including housing. And so what I did, because everything was closed down, was I reached out to any place you've ever been to, and I obtained a copy of your documents. And I didn't stop. If there was an agency, I would contact them. If they've ever been to a clinic, I was able to get it. And so it slowed me down, but I was still able to get those documents. I think one of the challenges is the communication with the youth, not being able to being in an office setting with them during case management at times to develop the connection with them, which is most important, right? Relationships and connections with the youth. We didn't let it stop us, but we had to do things differently. Family style eating, that's something that's important to us. And we had to stop that. And so that affected our day-to-day activities, our in-house activities that we normally do. And that's one of the things that the youth always mention, like, it feels like a family. It feels like family when I come into the home and how we structured it, how our system is. And so that, eating together, that kind of tore that apart. And helping them gain employment. That was challenging for me. And so just helping them, with the momentum to keep the motivation and the hope, and to say that, listen, we can find work, whatever it is, whether it's online. I've helped them, find trainings that they can do online to get them the skills that they need when the world opens up. And so I was able to find things like that. And so I Googled, I researched, I called different places. And so, it slowed it down, but it didn't stop. So those are some of the issues that occurred during, because I stood the whole entire time of the pandemic, at Myers.
Wow. Jason, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yes. I mean, greatest thing Melissa said, momentum. Helping our ladies and our clients maintain momentum. That was what we're doing. It was work. And like Melissa said, like, we had to be eclectic, if normal traditional educational systems were shut down, we were talking about books, we were talking about, educational YouTube videos, and, great mention by Melissa, momentum. I forgot about that part.
That actually reminds me, I used to do a lot of youth work in communities. And I think one of the biggest problems that I had with our youth group when we got a new youth, wherever they might have been from, has always been the follow-up, right? So we would have like this great moment, whether it be for a weekend or a week. And because they would change numbers so quick and things would change, like I had no way to follow up unless I knew someone who knew someone who knew them, right? And so trying to make sure that they were still within, I want to say, the sphere of influence, so that we can help impact in a broader way. I don't know, Mike, if you could relate, when you're just trying to help somebody and then you lose that level of communication or impact. What do you guys do as it relates to follow-up to make sure you can really guide them to, so no one slips through the crack, right? Because things happen, whether, like you said, I lost a paper and then the person changed the number, or what does that look like? Like, what are some things, some safeguards that we can put in place so that no one slips in those cracks?
So during my intake process, I get an email. And if you don't have one, you're going to create one. And that's our system, Jason. And, our program, our system here, even if they don't have a phone, I'm calling medical insurance with the help of Jason to get you a phone. Another thing is we have a sheet in our intake packet that we get at least one number, someone who's important to you that you always go to. And I say it like that so I can call that person if nothing else works, because they hear from that person, whether it's social media. And it has happened where I contact the emergency contact list and they're able to contact the youth because I got something in the mail for housing. So those are my ways of getting them when they leave my program to reach them.
I think that's awesome. I don't know, I'm gonna throw it to you, Mike, if you had any thoughts so far of some of the things that's been just passed down to us right now.
Well, I was thinking about that last, that comment about when you lose contact, and it's tough to guard against that. I had a situation earlier in the day actually like that, where someone had sort of fallen out of contact and said, here's my new email address. Like, we didn't have your new email, So yeah, I think you kind of got to do whatever you can practically do to stay in touch, which actually makes me think about something else. So maybe this is for Melissa and Jason. People will first come to your attention because they're in immediate crisis, but do they reach back later on after they have stabilized themselves? Are there any insights that they're able to share with current residents? I thought about what a blessing said a moment ago too, if she could speak to her younger self or to her peer, and I didn't want to, I'm going to give it back to you, but I don't want to dwell on it too much right then. But I was saying, like, for a young person, say a younger person than me, put it that way, to say stay in school is a lot more powerful for me to suggest stay in school. But I'm sure there's, that's born from insights and practical stuff that she's dealing with. But let me kick it over to you, Melissa and Jason. Like, do folks come back and stay in touch and do try to talk to their younger selves? And if they do, what is it that you find they're saying?
I hope our internet doesn't cut out. We're getting a message. Are you getting that message, Melissa?
I got it. It broke a little bit at the ending, but I did get it.
So
Jason,
I was about to pull off an article off of my back corkboard, which you can't see right behind me, of one of our clients who came to us and went through our programs and then went into supported housing, got her nursing degree, and is now living in a supported apartment in the community, and always comes back to us to visit, to network, and that's one of the things I think, Mike, you had mentioned it maybe earlier, or that our ladies here network with each other, and we try to foster that appropriately, to make sure that they're all on the level with their networking, but we definitely try to foster that, and so many of our ladies come back. We've had other ladies that I know Melissa can speak to. But yeah, they come back, our ladies and our clients come back to us, and they visit us, and they, I think we had any, Melissa, in a mentor capacity? I'm not.
We have so many, but no, just the one you spoke on. We have a few girls.
Well, I'll just chime in and say the DYC RHY drop-in centers, I know that so there's youth that start at the drop-in center and go all the way through to a TIL and then to permanent housing. And then they come back to the drop-in centers as someone who's got permanent housing and say, I have a rent issue, or I have an apartment issue, I have a landlord issue, and they still come back to the drop-in centers to receive more help, and they're able to do that. So, and we do have a follow-up policy where they follow up with them for 90 days. And so they're not just out off, okay, you found stable housing, good for you, bye. They can continue to use our services and receive help, a different kind of help now. Maybe they don't need that job readiness that they needed when they were looking for a job, but maybe they have, an issue where they're not being paid properly, and then they need to be referred to like something with a legal aid, and they can help them with that. So we continue to, DYCD RHY programs continue to administer services and help even after they've gone on to stable housing.
And some after 21, we have a new program 21 to 24 who I have referred. And if they still need housing, the bridge is where I will refer them to, and it has happened. Continuum of Care.
Can you speak to the bridge a little bit, just for people who don't know? Like, we're talking to a lot of people, and I want people to know exactly what that means when you say, "Hey, I'm bringing you to the bridge," because it sounds amazing. I just don't know what it is.
So yeah, the bridge is located in the Bronx. Similar to the crisis program, the age is geared toward the ages of 21 to 24. So receiving all the services is just the age is a different age range.
Nice.
And you only could be referred when you're 21, not before. And you can stay up to 30 to 60 days.
That's amazing.
Can I jump in for a second?
Go ahead, Scott.
I kind of picked out something, maybe just because of the work I do with men. I keep hearing you say ladies. Wait, is this not for males? It's only
no. Yes, we do have programs for males as well.
Okay, because I kept hearing the ladies.
I service only female identify, so that's why I say ladies. But yes, we do have other programs in the continuum that serve males.
Yeah, so DYCD RHY programs have criteria, and the criteria are that the youth are experiencing homelessness, that the youth are of the age that the program serves, and that they identify with the gender that the program serves. So In this case, for Maya's Place, it is a female identified crisis center. We also have programs that are specialized for instance,
sexually exploitation, LGBTQ.
Yes, you got it. Go ahead.
Right. So we have programs for every category, and that's also, when you assess, you refer based on, the assessment.
Do you refer?
But we have many programs.
Do you refer for families?
So families, we have mother and child programs, 2-year programs, as well as crisis for mother and child, in almost every borough.
So what about dad and child?
Oh.
As of now, that hasn't been established. We don't have.
It hasn't, but I have had clients where I refer to PATH, where they can enter PATH with their the father of the child, and so I've seen that happen.
So just to stay in this energy, I want to say, because Scott pointed something really great out. What have been like different risk factors specific to women and then men that gotten them into this place that we could say, hey, these risk factors can foster like housing displacement or what that may look like. If you could say these risk factors really impact males and females, I would love to hear what you guys have assessed.
I take it back to education, and not just formal education, right? Because not all education is done in a high school or a college. People can be well educated by just hitting books, studying material, through life lessons, working in, on farms, but just education seems to be a commonality, and that being a lack of access to good education, or a lack of motivation to become educated or more educated and have a fever towards education. That's what I'd share about that.
Can I just interject something?
In addition to,
go.
Oh, sorry.
Who's going?
Just to add on, tech and trade and, besides the school, just to piggyback off of Jason, Army, military, we have girls who go into, service as well. So I just wanted to add that.
This is maybe a tangent, but I'm really curious, when you were listing different things and you said things like books and insights, that sounded square in the pocket. I can imagine people, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. When you said farms, is there a particular program in the city that you had in mind, or is that really just like, a valid example, maybe an atypical example, because I really plugged in to your saying that. I thought it was really interesting.
No, sorry, I don't have any particular programs in mind.
No, don't be sorry. No, I think you never know what's going to come up in the barbershop, so I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I know like in the Cornerstone portfolio, we used to do this a lot, and hopefully we're still doing this, where a lot of them on the grounds, there isn't enough space to do outdoor projects and to connect. So, and the city does have a fair number of opportunities for farming locally, and there's a huge need to get to produce in our communities. We should probably do a barbershop about, just like under the rubric of nutrition, about gardening locally. So I'm just curious about it, and I totally agree. I wouldn't have thought of it quickly, but I think it's a really great example about practical ways to get access to what we need to know for life. And the other thing, I think, roof farms is the sort of thing, that kind of urban hydroponic gardening kind of stuff. Like, there's real opportunities there, which makes me think about another thing. We talked, and will, I think, for the whole time talk about homelessness, and we've been talking about some of the other related issues. So I want to talk a little bit about mental health, but let's talk a little bit about connecting young people to the world of work, if we can, and maybe Jason, you want to respond to that, and we'll ask the other panelists, how do you approach that as an aspect of this, the work that you do, the investment you're making in young people and helping them try to make in themselves?
Sure. I always focus on personality traits, and I always encourage the clients that I work with to, look for a job that matches their personality traits. If at the time they're not interested in, interacting with people, then maybe a more sedentary, seclusive, intrinsic job is for them, like with security. If they're, if they're very interactive, then perhaps a job in customer service, is more appropriate. And then we whittle it down from there. But I try to get the ladies to think about their personality traits and match them to, certain disciplines or fields. And I also try to work with the ladies to help them think outside the box. A lot of what we learned growing up was retail, but there's so many jobs out there and so many fulfilling, jobs out there, like well, you know what, I'm not going to butcher it because I don't know the exact name, but that's what I'll say about that.
I use the same tactic when I assess my youth, because I'm the one who helps with the resume building and the referral resources to send them out to look for work. And so, yes, personality, helping them look for jobs, and talk about them. And so that may be helpful for them during their search. One of the things that helps with the case management is if you don't have a job, they have to apply to at least 5 to 10 weekly. Don't give up, and a lot of times, and I can say this, a lot of times our youth leave here with a job. And so it has been helpful and it works.
Can we ask a Blessing if she can share with us about her journey with workforce readiness and what some of the things are that she did through the RHY program?
When I first got there, I did not have a job. I got a job within a week. I started working at McDonald's. I didn't really like McDonald's. I guess it would go with personality matters. Didn't really like McDonald's. I mean, I've done customer service a lot, but just didn't like McDonald's. So from McDonald's, I currently work with an organization called SoGrow in the Bronx. I am a after-school teacher for 5th grade. Totally love the job. It's amazing. It fits my personality because the kids are very bubbly. So am I. So we relate on like the kid level. I think that's really it.
Blessing, did Melissa and the other people at Maya's Place help you with job readiness and workforce readiness?
When I first got there, we had the conversation about goals and like my focus, what I wanted to do right at that moment, which was get a job. So yeah, the whole applying, not giving up, that sort of thing helped me with work readiness. To go on the question that Jerry asked earlier, a risk factor, I'd say it's mental health, 100%. A lot of kids, they're not even aware of what this mental health thing is. They don't have no access to it. There's a lot of families who shame mental health. So that's definitely a risk factor, because if you have nobody to talk to, no space to vent or any of that, you're just building up on it and it's going to explode eventually. It's not a good thing at all. So them helping me mentally definitely helped me with the job thing, because it motivated me to keep going, not give up on myself. And now here I am with this job. My major in college is early childhood education, so it coincides. So yeah, I've also got the chance to work at a shelter. You guys don't know this, Melissa and Jason. So with this job, they gave me the opportunity to work at a homeless shelter. I forgot what it's called, guys. I'm gonna look it up again. But I worked with the kids there. they had a little after school program in there for if like the parents go to work or something. So I got to work with them. It was pretty cool, especially because I related, because I'm in the shelter too. So it was cool. It was cool. But yeah.
Breaking news in the barbershop talks, right? That's beautiful.
I wish I had a sound effect right now. It would be a horn blowing. You know?
Yeah.
So I want to take this opportunity. We have some people on YouTube, and once again, if you're on YouTube, if you have some questions or you have a question, please throw it in the YouTube chat, and we can get it on as part of asking questions to our panelists. So I see we have some that are on, but please, if you have any questions, if you want to throw it to the panel, throw it into the YouTube chat, and then we'll get it on the air also. So, okay, so I just wanted to make that announcement. So where we go next?
No, well, a blessing led me. I'm gonna take, because I'm the in-house mental health ambassador champion, get to be clinician. I'm excited. Once I heard it, first off, you are phenomenal. I appreciate and honor your resiliency and how you came through. I actually want to pass this to Jason and Melissa. What does mental health services look like for your team? How do you support that in their transition as they're looking for space?
If I may just go back to build on what a Blessing was saying just a little bit before that. You know, I love what you said about, you know, understanding, you know, and it brings me back to like education, you know, because the concept of mental health, it can be so broad and obscure. And I think it's always important to work to help, you know, any individual, but of course, in our case, a youth, recognize the practical usefulness of building their understanding of why they feel and or behave the way they do. I know what we call in the social service community insight. So I just wanted to add that as a great additive, a blessing. Thank you for that. And what was your question again, Jerry?
Not a problem. The question was just basically, how do you support the mental health of people who come in, and just how do you service them and guide them in their mental health as you provide all these other amazing services?
Definitely working as a team, communicating so that there isn't duplication of services, and so that everybody on the service team, especially between me and the case planner. I know we have Melissa on today, but we have another case planner, Allison, and another case planner at Victory House, Miss Lee, so that they don't lose any of their authority as a helper. So we navigate that, you know, together, and it's really a unified front. We present and we bring the, you know, client, in this case, our youth, along into that front, and we spearhead it together. That's what I'll start on that.
Awesome. Melissa, you want to add anything to that?
Just to, you know, follow up with what he said, it's working together collaboratively as fully engaged partners to help overcome the stigma behind mental health. You know, the effective ways on how to handle stress or make healthy choices is what we tell our youth, and, you know, what to look forward to when seeing Jason, you know, because you have to explain sometimes. A lot of them, a few of them will, you know, why I have to go, you know, what that was, what can, you know, going to see him do for me. And so explaining, you know, and helping them understand how important it is, or how can it help them. It's helpful.
Awesome.
And so you can, I'm sorry, Jerry, you mind?
No, go ahead.
And so you can imagine how I have to captivate my audience right away. So, and I tell you, it's understandable, right? Because, and I think it's one of the great, I think it's great being a male in this work, because, you know, our identified ladies have been wronged by male figures, right? Up through their development. So to be able to have a sounding board for that. And I was in a session today, and you know, we uncovered the fact that that one of the ladies, was experiencing growth because she was able to tell me to be quiet without any repercussions, and it was wonderful. And so being very eclectic, using dancing and audio and visual, which is kind of how the mental health community has gotten, right? It's gotten very eclectic, and it's wonderful to see because there is no one shoe fits all, even though we have great systems. Melissa, Andrew, our supervisor, and our other case planners, they help. We all work together to develop systems to kind of try to set up a game plan or an action plan in regards to assisting clients along the way, and sprinkling in mental health along the way, but being able to have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. Did I do the alphabet correctly? Yeah.
Yeah, a system provides clarity. It heightens the productivity of these youth. And at the end of it, they're excited because Jason creates this phenomenal document that helps with housing as well. So that's helpful and exciting.
I think all those things are super powerful. And again, just lifting you all up. I actually want to take a step back for all the stuff that you guys do, especially when you take in these youth who may be coming from any type of trauma, vicarious, or anything that's happening in depression, or just in a place of vulnerability. The type of support and help that you all are giving is just mind blowing. So again, we so appreciate you all. I actually want to pass it to Trace or Yolanda for what are some amazing things that DYCD RHY is doing. I know about some new beds. I know about just new things and programs that's coming in place. Just support the TIL and everybody and all the other CBOs and providers you have out there. If you want to speak to that a little bit.
Well, I would like to talk about our HYAs, our 21 to 24s. That's pretty recent. There was shown that there was a need for youth who were aging out of RHY continuum and our age limit of 21. Well, first of all, we also streamlined the DHS process for them so that if they need to continue on to DHS, they don't have to go through a lot of hoops to kind of help them go through that process. But in addition to that, we have had gotten several 21 to 24-year-old shelters and TILs and crisis. And I think it's important because, once you hit 21, that doesn't make you a grown-up, and especially if you've had trauma and you haven't been able to go through the channels that most people get to go through of maturity and having support and these things to grow up. And when you're 21 to 24, you still need help. And so we continue to provide these home-like environments that nurture them so that they can, if they still need that help, we have it. So I really am very pleased that we do have our 21 to 24-year-old TILs and crisis centers to help our older youth who are still not 100% grown up. So that's what I think is a wonderful resource that we have, and I think we're going to continue that.
Do you tend to see the same kinds of issues with older adolescents, 20 and 24-year-olds? Are there particular things that present more often when someone is in that age than them? Okay.
Yeah, I think the mental health component is still very much needed. And I just think it's there's a more of an urgency towards, workforce readiness and independent living skills if they've not yet gotten those. And just kind of, more eye to the future. But for the most part, I think we continue. I think it's the home-like environment and the help that we provide and the services. I think those are going to remain constant. I think that there's more of an urgency of, okay, what are you going to do next? And I think that the mental health piece is still very much needed because I think we all need that mental health piece. So that's really the differences in terms of what we provide. it's a little bit more like, okay, let's get going. And I think the independent living skills and kind of saying you are going to move on from here to permanent housing and we need you to be ready.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in a little bit here. Jerry gave the opportunity and Yolanda just teed it up so perfectly. We really, I just wanted to shine a few lights. It's the last day of Runaway and Homeless Youth Awareness and Prevention Month, and I just want to highlight the resilience of the community. We never stopped during COVID. We were open 24/7. Everyone was getting services, and I also wanted to highlight that the resourcefulness of the community, how we went into virtual type counseling and creating virtual spaces to build community and expand, and like Yolanda said, we finally expanded to our last 21 to 24-year-old site. But we also in July we had our first opportunity to have housing vouchers directly available to runaway and homeless youth. We started a pilot of City for HEPS, which is in partnership with DSS and was helped out by a city council bill. So that started. And then 1 month later, we got 600 HUD emergency housing vouchers for our community. And so I know that Melissa and Jason have been working really hard and with a lot of different systems to make that work. And it's really the most awesome thing to be able to offer folks this opportunity to get housing. And everyone was talking about mental health and the need for mental health, and we were able to increase the mental health services at our drop-in centers through mental health hubs, through the Office of Community Health. And then to tie it all up in a bow, to kind of show how awesome and what's yet to come, we have the city was awarded a youth homelessness demonstration project from HUD, and DYCD is the lead in that program, and we have a chance to plan with young people at the center of this planning work to really end youth homelessness and really strive to making it short, periods of youth homelessness short, and hopefully end youth homelessness. So it's a really great time for this community, which is I'm just really thankful to be part of it. It's a wonderful community, and we really are making so much change every single day. So I wanted to shine that light.
And Tracy, we can't forget, in relation to the provider meetings, your music.
The music.
So Scott, I wanted to swing it back to you. I didn't know if you wanted to get ready to gear us home.
Well, I saw there was a comment in the chat that someone really echoed, and I think what Mike was talking about, the farming. That was something big, and I don't know if that's something that that maybe RHY needs to look at. And I know that this generation, I think they call it's not the X generation, or is it the double Z, or what generation is this now? I can't remember. I know
you broke me with that.
I had
no
to
one knows the labels anymore.
I forgot.
Oh,
Gen Z.
Okay, yeah.
Generation Z.
There we go.
There we go, Blessing. I know it was something like that, but I know they're very health conscious. I know also, and once again, about what they eat, what goes to their body. That may be something really interesting for them to really start thinking about their own resources of growing or having those type of hydroponic farming or rooftop farming stuff, maybe at the RHY facilities to do that. Because, and I know that I did it at a program I used to work with, and the hydroponic farming was huge. We couldn't even give away the food we were growing so quickly, so fast, the hydroponic farming, but that's something that's interesting. And I saw somebody made a comment in on the YouTube channel about that. So I want to bring it into this group that they made that comment. So, but no, I think we're just about there. I'm not sure if there's anything last minute conversation or something that we should, that we leave something out. Tracy, I know that we talked before. We want to make sure that We really highlight what's happening in DYCD, things that are going on. And Tracy or Yolanda, can y'all give us, is there a number or something that they can call? Well, what happened?
Okay, so we have there's a 311 hotline. I believe there's a 311 number that caters to youth who are experiencing homelessness. And in addition to that, if you go to if you go to Covenant House, any of the drop-in centers throughout the city, they have a direct line to us. If they need us, if they need anything at DYCD and they need technical assistance or guidance or anything like that, we are here to help them. And I've actually gotten emails from youth who are in Tills and said, my air conditioner is not working, and I've called and said, this youth told me their air conditioner wasn't working, it's very hot, what y'all gonna do? So I would say that as far as youth who are any youth that's experiencing a situation where they're at home and it's an untenable situation for whatever it is, they can go to our drop-in centers, and then from there it will lead them to the referrals that they need. And each drop-in center works with the rest of the programs in the RHY Continuum, but then they also will send you to resources throughout the city that can help you. So it's not just an RHY thing, it's everybody needs all kinds of help. Immigration, document help, all kinds of things, mother and child, LGBTQ. So I would say that, I think that the best starting place would be a drop-in center. And I do believe that the palm cards are, there's a link to the palm cards in the resources, and those palm cards tell you what the hours of the different drop-in centers are, the ones that are 24 hours. And they're in every borough. And also we have a street outreach team that goes around in vans and hands out supplies and helps youth get to the resources that they need. So yes, the 311 number, but mostly I would say, please go to our drop-in centers and tell them what you need. And they are more than equipped to help you.
So Yolanda, what if I was a homeowner and I just started to say, hey, I got some extra space in my house, my facility. Is there something I could be useful with? Is there something?
I'm gonna forward that to Tracy. Tracy, go. I can't answer that right
now. Just repeat what you said, Scott.
Okay. Well, I was saying, say I'm a homeowner and I have this big old house and just me in it. I got bedrooms and stuff. And I said, well, you know what? I like try to help the kids in the community. Is there something I could do?
Yes, anyone who has an apartment to rent can sign up. There is, we can put that link in the chat too. We have, like I said, we have Section 8 vouchers available, and young people with housing opportunities in hand. So we are welcoming that. And you could also reach out to DYCD Community Connect and let them know that you're willing and able to rent to young people, and that would be fantastic. So I can find the link and put that in the chat for how to register your apartment for rental. So thank you for that question.
That's amazing, because I didn't even know that.
I appreciate that answer too. So yeah, we don't know who is listening, and we always archive these discussions later on. So if this point in the conversation you think you know someone in your network who has a practical way that they can help reduce homelessness in the city of New York, DYCD has a strategy for you. That's fantastic.
I was just thinking, in a monopolis as big as New York City, you can't walk around New York City without seeing a skyscraper going up somewhere. And I always wonder how we have homelessness in New York, because there's buildings with 100 apartments in it. And I know everybody can't afford to live in New York City, but there has to be some vacant property around. And even in the boroughs, I'm out here in Queens, and they're like revitalizing downtown Queens like crazy because of the airport situation. But it's good to know that those people who are looking for housing or have apartments available, instead of leaving them vacant open, this is another opportunity that they can fulfill it with a young person and be able to at least make something. So I'm always a believer it's best to make something than nothing, because an apartment sitting vacant is making nothing. I'd rather put somebody in it and make something, whatever it could be, until somebody could really step up and afford to pay the market rate. And we all know in New York, you have to give blood and your firstborn to pay rent in New York. So I applaud all young people who are out there who are making it, be able to survive and be able to get out on their feet, be able to pay, like Jason said about understanding money. If you're living in New York, you have to understand money. You have to have some concept of money in order to survive. If you don't, New York City will swallow you up very quickly. So I appreciate those young people who are learning about their money and how their money is. As we said in one of the other barbershops we have, we're learning how to keep it 700. Y'all know what 700 means? That's your FICO score. You got to keep it 700. It's not just that, not 100, it's 700. Remember that, young people. Keep your FICO score up so that you can have the opportunity to do a lot more. So as we get ready to wrap it down, I'm going to jump to Melissa. Any last words, Melissa?
Thank you. This was great. Thank you for having me. And I hope the word gets out so we can continue to help the youth that are in need and hope stop homelessness or end it.
Jace?
Yes, thank you also for having me on the barbershop, and thank you to all the DYCD, our colleagues. And I just want to say to anyone who listens to this, now, or was listening to it now or listen to it in the future, if you're having behavioral or emotional challenges, don't rule out mental health. You heard it here today. It can help. And Melissa and I were talking about a concept of shopping around for a provider, because not everybody, the first person you interact with that has professional licenses may not be the best person for you. It's like that right fit, right job, right fit for the job concept. We were talking about earlier. So don't be afraid to shop around for a counselor or a therapist or mental health practitioner also. Take the step.
It's funny you say that, because on one of our other barbershops, they said date your therapist. That's what we called it. On one of my other barbershops, they said learn to date your therapist, see if you really want to be with them. And that concept was funny that they said, yeah, check them out, see if they, put them on the 30-day list or something. How well are they doing? It's like dating your therapist, that concept. So I agree. And once again, we as people, we have the onus of really checking out. You're paying for a service, make sure you're getting what you're going to get. So our star of the show, Blessing, our superstar, we want to give you a chance to say something. Go ahead.
Wait, what am I saying something about?
Last words, whatever you want to say. Testimony.
Oh, okay. My place and everything, DYCD and everything else is great. Everybody's amazing. Thanks for this opportunity, allowing me to be on this call, get to meet new faces, networking like you guys said. Hopefully, I'm gonna make it big, and then I'm gonna talk about this for other youth when I get older. Not too old, soon. I'm gonna build a platform for mental health and stuff like that. And you guys should tune into that.
So when you become the next Oprah Winfrey, remember us. We'll still be here on the
yes,
YouTube,
for
right?
sure. You guys will come with me, to be on the show.
Yolanda?
Wait. I'm about to get on the train. So I actually about to leave, guys.
Okay. So let Yolanda go next.
I would just say thank you to all the panelists that came and shared their expertise, their vast expertise. And just as far as, thinking about youth homelessness, just remember that there before the grace of God go I, and just have compassion and try to help out when you can. And remember that DYCD RHY has many, many resources. So if you know anybody that needs anything, refer them to our resources.
Our colleague of the hour, Tracy, closing it up before we run it down.
I just have so much gratitude for all of you for having us here. Yolanda did such a great job with being a great moderator, and her passion and her love for the work just shines through. And I, really blessed to be able to talk with Melissa, Jason, and a blessing, and Mike and yourself and Jerry. So this has just been a dream come true for me. So thank you so much for having me on the Barbershop.
You're welcome.
And thanks to David for all his organization.
100%, 100%.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna get the beauty shop up and going soon, so don't worry about it. We'll eventually get it going. So, Mike, how are you feeling now?
Good. This is I was going to say something. I don't know, but just the first time we've actually returned to the same topic, but that's not really true. I think this is another illustration where one subject is so deep that, even in a 2-hour discussion, we don't cover everything. So I'm glad this year, November, during Runaway and Homeless Youth Prevention Month, we've had great colleagues from DYCD, and they brought a whole crew of folks in and participants in. We did that last year. We did it this year, different cuts, different ways to explore the issue, and a lot of gems both times. I want to thank everyone. I certainly want to thank A Blessing and the way that she's paying it forward, volunteering her time and supporting other young people who are also experiencing homelessness and being able to share her insights. It's all fantastic. And I'm excited that van is out there. They're doing street outreach, as well as, the programs are available. You can call, you can email, you can follow up. And I love this idea, New Yorkers who have a space available and ready to go. Let's get it done. Let's help someone transition out of homelessness and onto a different trajectory. I think it's a beautiful thing. Jerry, how are you feeling?
I think Jerry, he fell off. So,
well, he was feeling great earlier, I guess, right? He was so overwhelmed. Yeah.
That happens on the Barbershop sometimes. So for our guests out there that are watching the Barbershop, once again, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you come on to take part in our discussions and listen and hear what we have to say. Once again, you can always go to DYCD and you can find out more information about different barbershops that are happening or different information that we have to offer. Please go on the internet and look up DYCD and look at all the different services and resources that are available to you. We are the biggest agency that services more parts of the community in the 5 boroughs than probably anybody else in the city. We have youth services, immigrant services, we have fatherhood programs, we have workforce programs, we have funding sources for small projects, that we have many, many different things that DYCD has to offer. So we're going to be winding down the year, but I want everyone to make sure you stay tuned that next month in December, we're going to have 2 barbershops, I believe. We're going to have one talking about legacy, and we're going to hopefully have our commissioner, Bill Chung, on, which I'm super excited for him to come on, and the legacy that he has built at DYCD and the culture that he, in his time, that he has built at DYCD has been awesome. I'm not sure how everybody else feels about it, but I know that we had an event at DYCD, and I know there was a lot of tears and people crying because our commissioner is going to be retiring at the close of this year, and we're going to have him on to say some things, and we're really going to hopefully celebrate him. He's a very modest man, so I just want to put that out because you don't often get commissioners who are so modest that he comes by your desk and talks to you, where you don't always get that at some level that you have that. No, he's asking questions or passing you in the hall, he'll ask you a question, and a very humble gentleman, but very wise in many ways. And then we're going to be doing our year-end wrap-up, where we're going to be bringing back our guests from across the year and bringing back and having conversations and just catching up and buttoning up the year that we had this year. And then we'll be closing out, preparing for our barbershop coming up for 2022 as we move into beginning of our 3rd year of the barbershop. Wow, this is going so fast, so quickly, how we're going into a 3rd year of working on the barbershop and having it. So at this time, we want to thank everyone for dialing in and logging in. And once again, if you're a young person that you need services, help out. If you have some space and you want to be able to use some of your rooms or something like that for a young person to be able to get into a residence, call us and then we'll see how we can help you out. With that said, I want to say good night and see you next month at the Barbershop.